Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Full Dive Gaming Podcast, bringing a weekly dive of all the news, discussion, and condensed nerd talk you need for virtual reality gaming every Friday. I'm Rim McAfee, producer and editor of this podcast.
I'm Jay Bratt, a virtual reality YouTuber.
I'm Adam Charlton, a VR game developer who really enjoys eating bananas.
This just got crazy.
So we have a banana here on the podcast, and I'll get to that in a second for those listening that are so confused. So our usual fourth host, Destiny, not able to make it today. She's busy watching a Jonas Brothers concert or something. So where did that even come from, Jay?
It's a long story, but I'll make it really fast. When I used to manage Starbucks, one of my employees one day came in. She was totally hoarse, but we didn't have enough people, so she had to work. So every customer that came up, and when she couldn't talk, I kept telling them she blew out her voice yelling at a Jonas Brothers concert, even though she hated them. But she couldn't say anything to fight it, so she had to deal with it. Now Destiny is also gone watching a Jonas Brothers concert in VR. But we're joined by a banana. Rip, who is this guy?
They want us to talk about the Reverb G2.
So the stream go away.
Yeah. All right. So instead of Destiny, we've got the amazing, the talented. Do you want to Jordan, aka Commander Nexion? How do you go by when you're competing?
So when I'm competing, I go by Nexion. Yeah.
So go ahead and tell them all about you.
All right, everything about me, right? So my name is within reason. My name is Jordan Carr, and I am a VR enthusiast and gamer, and I am also one of the 4 members of a small VR esports team called the OKVR team.
And they are, as the name suggests, perfectly adequate.
It was very intentional. Yeah, we're not shooting for the stars here.
No, they actually, from what I've heard, they win some stuff, they get some prizes, and they're pretty good at what they do. So yeah, he competes in a team that plays VR on VR treadmills, which is super cool. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's like a sort of, I mean, there's different ways to pull it off, so I'm not get into too much detail, but basically you're strapped to a thing, and the thing lets you run in any direction without actually moving in real space.
I am blown away by the technical description that you gave of VR.
I was going to say that's exactly how it came in the instructions. that was spot on.
Verbatim.
Strap yourself to the thing, and the thing will let you move.
It's very technical, yeah.
Yes. So, if you haven't already picked up, we're somehow we mentioned something about a banana. What's that about? So, we are all sitting here in VR. We're interacting as if we were really in a room together. So check out the YouTube channel if you want to see us and our lovely VR faces, or in the case of Jordan here, his lovely yellow fruit skin. I don't know. I don't know any good technical terms for that.
Before we get any further, Jordan, can you just say it's peanut butter jelly time? Maybe do a little dance. Just do it.
So I've been practicing my entire life for this. All right. Peanut butter jelly time.
Yes.
There we go. All right.
Perfect.
That was perfect. You got to go to YouTube
first
to
one's
see
free,
it, people.
the rest of them cost.
Yep.
You got to go to YouTube. It was perfect.
For those that are new here, we run the podcast in 3 sections. First, a VR gaming news section. Second, we'll be talking about our experiences with some of the newest VR games to come out. Third, we'll be running a discussion that changes week to week. This week, we'll be talking about VR treadmills, because we have someone who does that. Competitively, professionally, what do you prefer?
Competitively,
in terms of, like, competitive.
Yeah, we don't win enough to make a living off of it, but we're definitely winning enough to stay in and keep playing.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll be talking all about VR treadmills and how much they improve that experience. And I think all of us three, or us hosts, the VR treadmills are expensive. It's hard to really get your hands on these things. You have to go to find one, or you have to be really into VR and just dying to try some locomotion to really pick that up. So we're super lucky to not only have someone who's experienced with that, but does this consistently and regularly and is good at it. So super excited to talk about that. Last week, though, we talked about if VR streaming will ever be as big as flat screen streaming. So if you want to hear about that discussion topic, go to last week's podcast. So with I don't know why I was just about to say with destruction out of the way.
Destruction of the opening section of the podcast. It's accurate.
Yes. So with introductions out of the way, we are ready for the news segment. But first, our sponsor. This week's news segment is brought to you by Asterion. Does your VR headset still live in a cardboard box? I know mine did. Well, here at Full Dive Gaming, we believe your headset should... the head shake, like, unacceptable. So here at Full Dive Gaming, we believe your headset should rest on a stand worthy of your perhaps expensive VR device. And that's why we are excited to recommend to you the Aura Universal VR Stand. Compatible with every VR headset, the stand is minimalist, it is modern, and it looks just great on your desk or in your living room or wherever you want to put it. It's got clean RGB. It's like this glass panel thing, and it looks cool, and it's got RGB lighting that runs through all of it. You got all sorts of colors. You can choose an alternating color mode, and it's got a USB to charge your controllers, your Quest, your phone, whatever you want. Really cool, compact. We can't recommend this thing enough. It's actually like we're excited to tell you about this, guys. It's honestly a great product.
We've even got a person here who got one and can also tell us their opinion
that's
that no
right.
one's heard yet.
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
I love it. I actually shopped around for quite some time and never bought a VR headset. Like you guys had said, it was living in the box forever just to keep it safe.
Right.
But I heard about the headset through the podcast actually. And I went and I looked it up, and I immediately just loved the simplicity of the design of it and everything, and the lighting and everything coming through. It looks beautiful with the rest of my setup. So
it does.
It's for the gamers. It's made for the gamers. And
Yeah.
you guys know out there, we told you before, use the code FULLDIVE, you get $5 off. Well, guess what happened with Jordan here? He was just so excited to get this thing. He jumped on Amazon, didn't go to AsterianProducts.com, and just bought it full price. I told Asterion the story. I was like, well, we had someone who was going to buy one through us and use the code, but they just bought it on Amazon. And you know what they did? They asked me for Jordan's order number and refunded him $5 on the headset.
Yep.
How crazy. Like, that's so awesome of them, even though it wasn't our code. Good job, Asterion.
Yeah, excellent customer service. Yeah, they're awesome.
All right. Before Jay gives too many good ideas, they have not told us they're going to keep doing that. All right, Jay.
They won't do it ever again.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
that's
the
code.
we made it. That was a bit of our mistake in clarifying that you need to go to Asterion Products. That's www.asterianproducts.com. It's in the show notes. It's in the YouTube description. If you don't know how to spell that, and type in the code FULLDIVE at checkout to get $5 off any order, $19.99 or more. All right. Now we can start the news.
Or the Q&A.
Or the Q&A. That's right. We have a bit of Q&A. I really ought to just say this is a section because it always feels like it. So we have some Q&A before we hop into the news. Hopefully we'll keep this brief because we always love to answer you guys' questions. If you want to ask us your question, join the Discord community. It's also in the show notes in the YouTube description. We've got some great questions here. If you want to make sure that your question is like almost for sure answered and definitely answered before everyone else's, join the Patreon. You will be bumped to the head of that line. All right. Starting off, Jay, you got the first question.
First question, big surprise. Who's it from? It's from Rumbo. Rumbo asks, when you try out VR, is it genuinely mind-blowing, awe-inducing, and jaw-dropping? Like, do you actually feel like you're there, transported to another world with your real spatial awareness gone? And how long does that wow feeling last? I'll give a quick answer here. What I think, yes, if you pick the right experience. Yes, the first time can be absolutely mind-blowing and crazy, but you got to get the right experience that's going to really have you seeing the good graphics, having your hands really well represented. And it's, for me personally, I don't know if it ever necessarily wears off. It's all about continuing to find the right experiences, because I'll think, oh, it's gone. And then I'll get in some game like Half-Life Alyx, and for the first time, it's like, oh my gosh, it comes back again.
Right.
Jordan, how long have you been playing in VR?
So I've been playing VR for probably about 2.5 years now.
What do you
Um,
think about this?
so as you know, I only have the HTC Vive. It's the only VR headset I've ever tried. I bought it shortly after it came out. Um, I in terms of Rumbo's question, I mean, I agree. It definitely depends. If you're playing a game like Beat Saber, you're playing a game, uh, like Elite Dangerous, where you are totally immersed and everything just lines up. It can take you to another world and you completely lose track of time. Elite Dangerous, for instance, I have got, you've seen photos of it. I've got quite the expansive setup with over, I think, 80 different keyed buttons for this
Wow.
simulator, and everything's one for one. When I reach out my hand in the real world, I touch a or in VR, I touch a physical object in the real world. So when I push my throttle up, I see it move in game. So yeah, for me, I'll go into VR and I have to set alarms. I'll just completely lose track of time. So yeah, I think you can definitely get lost if it's the right game, if it's good development.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And in terms of how long does the wow feeling last? If you go to the top of a mountain and it's a gorgeous view and you're like, this is just incredible. Well, if you keep going to that same view for months, then you can still go to it and appreciate it. But obviously, like by now, it takes a very special VR game for me to go, wow, this is incredible. Because I've seen a lot of very incredible VR games, and after some point, the wow factor of VR itself, it goes away. Like most things, if you took someone from the 1800s and brought him here, he'd be just amazed by a screen by itself, right?
Maybe by the
So like,
light turning on by itself. Then.
yeah,
seriously.
exactly. So, like any piece of tech, it doesn't stay this like incredible, mind-blowing thing every time you walk into it. That'd be crazy. It'd be maybe cool, but it'd be crazy.
No,
So
I
it does go
completely
away,
agree.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I completely agree. It does go away, but man, those first couple times you try out VR, I put on VR headset and I would honestly forget a little bit. Like I would take off the headset and it would just feel weird being back in the real world, right? Now
Yeah.
that does go away after a while,
Yeah.
but oh man, there's nothing compared to that first wow factor when you're first trying out VR. Oh,
Absolutely.
it's so nice.
All right, moving on to our next question. Adam, you got this one?
Yes, I do. So this question is from Starsight on our Discord. If you had an unlimited budget, what VR headset would you buy? And this can include accessories and customizing your play space as well. So, I gotta say, one of the things is that the Index is just one of the best well-defined headsets on the market, right? It just
Right.
works well with things. It's well optimized. It's made by Steam for Steam VR, but unlimited budget, man. I gotta say, the first thing I'll do is, well, first buy a house with just a giant VR room, right? Unlimited budget, after all, right?
Oh yeah, right.
Because
right.
that's the hardest thing about VR, especially for outside in tracking VR, is getting a good play space. And so I would just get a house with a giant open basement. We're talking just like 100 by 100 feet, right? Where I can just
Right.
walk everywhere in game. That would be incredible. That's what I wish I had. But unlimited budget, we can dream, right?
Right.
What about you guys? What kind of VR headsets, accessories would you go for?
I want to rent your below ground warehouse.
This might sound crazy, but besides, obviously, I want to try the Pimax 8K just once to see if it's even what it's cracked up to be. But like, I feel like I might honestly still say a Quest with a warehouse and a 5 gigahertz wireless modem with modems all over the walls so that I could
Yep.
play games wirelessly in this huge space. Because even if you had an Index in that huge space, problem is you're going to run out of wire at some point. But if I could just run through the whole world of Half-Life Alyx with my literal feet wirelessly, even with the lower resolution of the Quest, it would just be way more amazing, I think, than any high resolution headset could be. Like, wireless is just, we're not there yet. Even with an unlimited budget, you probably couldn't pull us off, but that's what I would want if it was possible with that budget.
You see, and that really surprises me because I feel like that's a big debate in the VR community right now is, do we want accessibility and portability like the Quest, or do we want high fidelity like the Index? And so it's interesting to see you go for the portability, because I definitely wouldn't want that. When I play VR, I want the best experience possible to put me in that world. And so it's really interesting to see that you would still go for the Quest. That's really cool.
Have you played a wireless one yet, though? Because I feel like I would have said the same. The minute you play it, one of the games that you know and love, totally wirelessly, it kind of changes the perspective a little. At least it did for me, because it was like, whoa, this
Right.
it's just so freeing.
See, I'd
You
be
know,
I'd
I'll-
be paranoid about running into things the entire time with wireless.
That's why
I'm
you
without
gotta
it.
you
Yeah.
gotta have that warehouse wide open. You gotta know that there's that space. You gotta be able to trust that there's that space there.
Yeah, where like and you know you have the VR Guardian like wall thing, you know.
Mhm.
You have that like 5 feet from the edges of the warehouse, so you've got like room to like run at the wall, and you've still got time to
5 feet to stop at a full sprint. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
you good.
Or instead of a warehouse, you just get a VR treadmill, right? So
Mhm. Yeah. To quickly wrap up Starsight's question, though, I think we can all say that VR is still at a point where there's like the technology is still evolving, so it's not like cars where like you can buy a cheap car or you can buy $1 million car. It, right now, the best headsets are just like we're still trying to come up with new headsets, and those are the ones to buy. So right now, technically the Pimax is more expensive than the Index, but I personally would still prefer an Index because the Index is not as heavy. It's got a bigger like user base and is, you know, it's not like as finicky. And that's expensive, but it's still in the terms of like products that can like vary from $100 to like hundreds of thousands. VR tends to stick within the I'm gonna say $400 to maybe $1,500 range. So having an unlimited budget only helps so much, at least with headsets.
There's no Ferrari in the VR world yet.
Right. Exactly. Okay. 2 more questions. Let's keep these ones brief. Nuno asks, hardest game you recall completing? We'll go very quick. Just say it, maybe one sentence. Right now, we're going to talk about it a little later in the podcast, but Battle Group VR is kicking my butt. Can't wait to talk about it.
Dragon's Quest on PlayStation 3. It's a 2D side scroller, and it's gets increasingly increasingly difficult as you go.
Half-Life Alyx, hardest difficulty, carrying the gnome.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was the okay.
Did you
anyway.
get it? Did you get the gnome to the end? What?
Hardest difficulty gnome beginning to end.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
That's
All right, Jay.
I don't finish games that are too hard for me, but in recent times, Crisis Brigade 2 was the hardest game I can remember playing and not even wanting to finish. So there's too much VR. I move on if it's too hard to complete.
Right.
I'm not a grinder like these guys. Last question. What's your least?
Real quick. Chat.
Uh-oh.
Took a little spin on our Ferrari topic. And Natalie says VR Ari, so Ferrari.
Ferrari. Yeah.
Right.
We should make the headset. $100,000 for a headset.
For a Ferrari.
What's your least favorite VR game? I'm just gonna say this to make Nat mad because she's in the stream. Cat lateral damage. It's akin to something like when Will was on the podcast talking about being a dog. Instead, you're being a cat, but it's super janky. It barely works, and I'm just gonna say that to say it. What about Adam?
Oof. You know, I gotta say, Orbis VR is the
yeah.
game that I can never recommend.
Oh, you know, I before we move on from that, I gotta say, that game is a special place in my heart because it's the first game I played with you guys. So.
Right? Yeah.
I see where we rank.
It was
Adam.
an incredible
Just move on.
game.
Just move
it
on.
was a great experience, but a terrible game.
Yep.
So I love the game Subnautica, but Subnautica in VR it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And so I'm real careful about the VR games that I buy. But I just really wish they would get that up to par.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'm going to agree with Adam here, but my pick was gonna be there was that, I forget the name of it, the Space Odyssey or Scavengers, whatever, the
Scavengers,
PlayStation one.
honestly, yeah.
That one was like a good game, but it just had terrible motion sickness, and therefore I couldn't recommend it. But Orbis VR is like, I don't like it because I want something so much better. Because I've mentioned before, the thing I'm looking for in terms of VR gaming is still that amazing VR MMO. It's like, I cannot wait for that to become a thing, and I am waiting to hop into it. And the fact that Orbis is the best we have right now is just, oh.
Although I have been hearing good things about a Township Tale, so that might be something
Yeah?
to look into.
We'll see. I'll believe it when I see it. All right. Now, we may begin with the news. First off, hold on 1 second. I messed up. Okay, cool. Um, as the producer, I've got like so many windows open and like so many things running. All right. So for our first news piece, Onward released on Oculus Quest today. Properly, not just side quest. It's like on the Oculus store. You
Native
can buy it.
Quest, yeah.
Native Quest. It's available for the Quest, but it comes with a significant downgrade. And unfortunately, it's not just for the Quest, and I'll get into it. So with version 1.8, Onward, the very tense milsim shooter, has been released on native Oculus Quest. The devs had hinted, first off, is this a verbatim?
Nope, I wrote this straight.
You wrote this. Okay, cool.
It reads good, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Toot the horn over there.
The devs had hinted that there might be some slight graphical downgrade to accommodate Quest users, but the effect was far more than what people had hinted at, with nearly every map receiving a huge downgrade in textures, foliage, and even map layouts. And it's not mentioned here, but there is a ton of pop-in. Like, things in the distance are popping in and out, and it's practically a headache to play on some maps.
You know, that is just such a shame to hear, because when I played Onward with you, it just ran so smooth, and that was
Right?
one of the best features was the graphics. It felt like you were there. It felt tense because it felt real. So it's such a shame to hear that there was such a downgrade.
Now, for, Quest is one of those, or not Quest, Oculus is, God damn it, I keep messing this up. VR is one of those things that has a lot of, like, I don't know, we us VR gamers tend to give a lot of breathing room in terms of the graphics of a VR game, because so much of it is experimental and we're still very early. But this is a downgrade. We shouldn't be going backwards. This was super frustrating, especially as someone who loves Onward. Jordan, do you play a lot of Onward?
I've not. No, I've not played Onward yet.
You haven't played. You play competitive. It's a shooter, right? You play a shooter.
Yeah,
competitively.
correct. Yeah.
But you don't play Onward. This is, for those that are listening, I'm shaking my head at him, and hope that
he's doing a
Furiously.
banana dance in return.
Yeah. Well, Jay, you've never been like necessarily crazy. Have you even played Onward? I've been trying to get you to play it for a while.
I have
No,
played
he still has-
Contractors and Pavlov. I still haven't played Onward either.
I will.
See, I'm not the only one in trouble now. I feel a little better. So
I'm taking some heat for you. Well, now I really want to play it with these downgrades you're telling me about. You're getting me really excited.
Oh
Really
yeah,
like it.
man.
But you can play it in native Quest now, so
Yeah,
I
you
might-
can play
I
your
might do
wireless
that.
VR. Yeah.
I might do that.
It's cool that they brought it to Quest, but come on, you can't. This was like not just like a somewhat noticeable, like whenever you see like E3 versus how the game released, you'll often see like some downgrades. This is almost worse than a lot of those. This is truly like what used to be a bush is now a green like cylinder.
or gone. Yeah.
Or just gone.
We're not really covering why. Why did this have to happen? Like, obviously it's because of Quest, but like, what about the Quest meant that PC players have to see it so much worse?
I've
so
been talking a lot.
maybe yeah, so Rip, would you like to answer that, or would you like me to go into it?
No, I was gonna say Jay should, but Adam can do it too.
Oh, well, Jay, do you have any thoughts on it?
He just was leading us on so much. I was like, well, why is it,
Right?
Jay?
You have thoughts on this?
Well, obviously the Quest doesn't have the power to run, but why does that mean the PC has to drop so much? And actually, I'm looking for perspective here,
Oh,
Adam. Like, why would they take this down that hard? Like, is it not possible for the PC to see a nice bush and the Quest to see a blocky bush? Like, what limitations are we working with here that this is possible?
There are different gameplay aspects that a dev might want parity across all different devices, right? And so one of those is they don't want to have better hardware means a better advantage. So if your index user is coming in and they can see straight through the bush, this partially transparent bush that you can see through on the Quest just gets like a green wall. That's obviously not going to be great for balance. And so keeping it parity between all the different devices is definitely a great gameplay mechanic. And it just kind of sucks for all the people that can afford the better graphics, right? And so there is something to be said for gameplay parity, but it is, and for cross platform play, that's a really big deal. You don't want someone that's shelling out, the index pay to win versus your Oculus Quest users. But it's unfortunate that it had to happen, in my opinion.
hmm Now, before we move on from this news piece, I want to mention another big part of this that wasn't mentioned in the news article we pulled this from, because I'm in the Onward subreddit. I nearly got into the Onward competitive community. I play a lot of Onward. And the other big thing that wasn't mentioned here is that not only do we see a graphical downgrade with the Quest release, but we've seen this other big issue, and it's the community. Because now, suddenly, the Milsim group is outnumbered by the amount of 8 to 16-year-olds hopping in, not taking things seriously, messing up our immersion and making things horrible. And the Onward subreddit is up in arms about it. So that I figured that was worth mentioning. Unfortunately, I have to I've never really liked there definitely is an atmosphere amongst some of the Onward community that's a little bit, if not bullying, then at least hazing, where they don't like people who are on Quest, especially now, because they feel like the people
Yeah.
on Quest like ruin their thing. So like if you like sound like you're under, I don't know, like 14 years old, you're instantly going to be like kicked. Um, and I wish that they weren't totally wrong about that, but unfortunately, more often than not, I love to see a young gamer that's mature, but too many kids are hopping in and they are just like they're shooting friendlies, they're throwing their guns around, they're not playing the objective. So you not only are you down a member in terms of your success in the game, but that person is actively ruining your experience. And I get that. I get that frustration. I don't know what the solution is though, because with this community, you get a lot of young audience. The Quest is great because it's only $400. A lot of parents can now buy their kids a VR headset without having to buy the $1,000 PC that goes with it. That's like nearly the point of the Quest. So,
So
Onward. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say a potential solution there, not that I'm going to fix anything in that realm, but with
I'd love
with
to
the
see
game
the
that I
devs come in
play,
and listen to the banana. Yeah.
so with the game system that I play competitively, we actually have competitive mode, and then we have casual play mode, and that separates kind of separates those two groups to keep that, so that the individuals that want to come in and they want to play around, or it's their first time, they get that experience to kind of do that. And then those that are there to try to put up a high score and compete for prizes and things like that, they're in their own separate group. So
Right.
that'd be something that'd be interesting to see them implement.
Onward does have a competitive game mode. You can set a server lobby to be, quote, competitive. Unfortunately, the trouble is Onward is a small enough community that the competitive part of Onward, like not just like people that take it seriously, but people that are truly in the competitive scene for Onward, they're the ones that populate the competitive. lobbies. So for like sh- Joe Schmo who just wants to play Onward and is, I don't know, 30 years old, is doesn't care for the childish antics, but isn't there to like sweat the entire time he plays. It's hard to play because you join competitive and get your ass just handed to you by people that play this game constantly and have 1,000 hours, or you playing casual where you've got I don't know, a 10-year-old that is like not doing their part.
I think the problem with this question is it's bigger than VR. It's bigger than Onward. This is a question for the whole gaming industry, and
This is true.
I can't say any game has figured it out yet. They've tried implementing systems of leveling up that mean you get these lobbies, and there's no true solution to this problem anyone's come up with yet. So once they do, maybe we can put it in Onward, but we're just not there. Make the game cost a ton.
Yeah, that's actually funny you mentioned that. One of the stream chat people says they should add stuff like Face It in CSGO where you pay extra to be on different servers. So I'm not familiar with that setup because I don't play CS, Counter-Strike, for those unfamiliar.
Yeah, where's Destiny? Right?
Yeah, where's Destiny?
Jonas Brothers.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. All right, moving on though. News piece.
Let's talk about Valve and let's talk about Half-Life Alyx. So, back in March, Half-Life Alyx launched and brought tons of users to the platform. Tons more people got into VR. Now, some news outlets even predicted that this was going to cause a huge surge, obviously, but then there was going to be a downturn as people finished the game, as they realized they didn't like VR, they were going to sell these out. Even Road to VR talked about how they were expecting to see some downturn. Well, they were wrong. Steam has actually retained all of the growth, according to Valve's monthly Steam survey, and the last month has it even higher than the Alyx peak from before, which is awesome news for the VR industry. It's great news for Valve. One thing that I will say, though, to think about is that could be skewing the statistic. A ton of people tried to buy the Valve Index back then and may still be waiting to get them. So those people, as those headsets are still coming in, more people are getting into VR right now who would have been in back in March. So it kind of that slowed that down. It might have flattened the curve, per se, of the huge increase in VR users, and it might just be going for a longer time.
Right.
What do you guys think about this news?
I mean, I wasn't surprised exactly for that reason that, people are waiting on their headsets, that it's really hard to get a headset right now. Everything is backordered, not just the Valve Index, but, the Oculus, the Vive, everything. If you want a headset right now, it's difficult. Yeah. So I'm not surprised at all. If demand is as high as it is right now, of course people are still playing. It was a no-brainer. I'm surprised people thought it wouldn't be.
For me, I think it shows that VR has staying power, that it's not a gimmick, right? The fact that it's still high means that people are trying VR just, for Half-Life Alyx because it was immensely popular and realized, hey, VR, this is actually a good thing, and it has staying power. It's here to stay. And that's what I love to see, is to see the community grow.
That's what we all want, because it brings good things for all of us.
Except Onward, right? There's elitist over at Onward. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
Just the idea that, somebody's going to try VR and then, they're going to turn around and go, okay, well, I bought it for Half-Life Alyx, but I don't really want to play anything else. That idea just baffles my mind. I've yet to meet anybody where once you put them in VR, they get out of it and they go, yeah, that's not really for me.
Yeah.
More addictive than meth.
I wish I could say the same. I have had people where, they enjoy VR and I get them to play it and they're like, oh, that was fun. But unfortunately, this is my brother's, which is even more annoying. But neither of them were like, well, okay, that's not true. One of them is interested in VR because he's into like space sim, flight sims, those sorts of things. He's tried Battle Group VR and he's like so ready to have VR now.
Hey, spoilers.
Yes, spoilers for later in the podcast. But some people do just kind of want to like maybe just play their flight sims. That's really all they've got VR for. So that exists, but it's definitely a minority. Most people try VR and they're like, this is amazing. So Yeah, it makes sense. All right, moving on. Next news piece. Adam, you got this one?
Yes, I do, and it's right up my alley. So there's several VR compatible flight simulator games out there. We've talked about a lot of them here on the show, but most of them are not made for the ground up for VR. Most of them are ports of PC games that you're able to play in VR. However, we have a brand new game that is built from the ground up for VR, VTOL VR. This went early access in 2017, and the 1.0 full release has just been cleared for launch. Because it's been made from the ground up for VR, everything in your plane while you're flying it around, you interact with using your VR controllers in game. So your flight stick, you grab it in game, you twist it around, you press any buttons or adjust the throttle, you move your VR controller. Wow, I am stumbling over my words a little bit here. You move your controller in game and adjust the throttle or push that button. Built for the ground up from VR, and the entire cockpit interface and dashboard designed for VR in mind. And personally, I'm really excited to see a flight sim like this get a full release.
Yeah, this game is so like I know some people in the flight sim community that whenever I say VTOL VR to them, they're like, "Oh, that game," because VTOL VR isn't a true sim in some ways. It doesn't have the full controls that a true whatever ship they're trying or plane ship, whatever plane they're trying to copy. So if you're like a hardcore sim, this isn't a hardcore sim. That said, if you like VR and if you like flight in general, this is a really great. It's not arcadey. It's not that bad.
No.
It's got a ton of control. I would hop into it and have no idea what I'm doing, just with the amount of like stuff in your cockpit. Yeah, this is an intense game. I've been meaning to pick this up for a while. I'm excited to talk about it on the podcast now that it has been. Is it released or is it just cleared for release?
It's cleared for release. I don't believe that it has had a full release quite yet.
Okay, so we're expecting it to come.
Right. The exciting thing about this game, though, that I think really sets it apart, and forgive me, I'm going to be using a little bit of game dev lingo here. There's this idea of diegetic controls, and diegetic means it exists in the game itself. So, like the other flight sims that we've talked about, like Elite Dangerous or War Thunder, or any of these other games, you're using physical flight sticks to move it around. You're pressing buttons on your keyboard. But that's not how it is in VTOL. You actually reach out in game using your controllers and adjust it in the game itself. And that's what really, I think, could appeal to a lot of people. They don't need to shell out another $150, $200 on a flight stick to play this game, and to really play this game, you just need whatever comes in your VR box. And I think that is one of the coolest features about this game.
Right, super approachable. And because it's not as ridiculously complex as like DCS,
right?
It's people can play this. They can enjoy the experience of flying. It's probably not this plane, but an F-16, just because that's a popular. I think most people know what an F-16 is. It'd be like flying an F-16 in VR, and you're getting to touch all the controls, and it's really fancy and cool.
Yeah, and I believe it's a Harrier. I think the
That's
Harrier
right,
is
yeah.
the one you fly. Yeah.
I said F-16 because I couldn't remember any proper name. I know what a VTOL is, but I don't know any like like proper name. I couldn't remember the term Harrier or anything.
Has
Yeah,
anyone
super
here
cool.
played Ultra Wings in VR?
No.
So that's like a really dumbed down version, but it's a flight game. I'm not even gonna call it a sim, but same thing. You have to reach over and flip your fuel switch on and turn I can't remember what the switch is called, and then you have to start it up and stuff. And like playing that, and even playing like No Man's Sky, where you use like your controller to move the joystick, has me nervous about this game. I definitely want to hear about it or play it myself and see, but like especially for like us on Inside Out tracking, when you're holding that joystick down, but if you were tracking a target up above you or looking up for some reason, it may not still be tracking it super well. So I'm interested in how the flight stick's going to work there, because there definitely was some weirdness in Ultra Wings at times. But luckily, Ultra Wings, it's all cartoony. It's not that demanding of a game. I'm wondering, for this being a combat fight simulator, like that means you're going to be looking at targets and trying to turn to shoot them. I feel like the intensity of the battle might really go against how you're trying to control it. So I don't know. I'm nervous about it.
So yeah, along with that, as somebody who has shelled out hundreds of dollars to get all the buttons and the keyboards and the HOTAS, which is hands-on throttle and stick. That's your flight controls and everything that you see a lot of people with really advanced setups using. I think there definitely is a market for something like this, where it's all simulated in the cockpit. But what it really comes down to is exactly what Jay was saying, which is how accurate is the tracking? Is it going to lose tracking in the middle of a dogfight? Because if that happens, it completely takes you out of the experience.
Right.
It's like your controller being unplugged by your big brother right in the middle of the right when you're about to kick him. So
it sounds like there's some trauma there for that. Do you need to talk about anything on your gaming history?
That's that. That's for another podcast.
Yes.
Someone get it. I want to hear about it. Let's talk about some other interesting and exciting news. So Sony has finally confirmed. They kind of confirmed this all along. Obviously, PSVR was going to be backwards compatible. We knew that, they'd said it, but now they're saying and confirming the aim controller, the Move controllers, the DualShock 4 controller, and the current PSVR camera are all going to work with the PS5. The camera will need an adapter, but they're going to give these adapters out totally free. So I think there's some of us that are like, whoa, that's kind of exciting. And there's some of us like, well, we are tired of the PSVR. We don't want all of it to work. We want to move on. But the interesting thing also, the DualShock, it's not only for VR. They're saying your current DualShock 4 will still continue to work for certain PS4 games with this new console, which is kind of unheard of in the console era, to be able to bring a controller over with you and still use it. But that's for the backwards compatibility. Now, me personally, what I'm hoping this means with the camera, I'm really hoping the new PS5 has another camera, a high definition camera. I'm hoping you can basically put one at one corner of your room and put your old camera at the other corner and at least turn this into 360. Like, if nothing else, the Move controllers wouldn't be so bad if you at least had 360 tracking, and that would really make it nicer. So I'm kind of hoping they're going to surprise us with some news like that. I'm happy all my stuff is going to work on the PS5, but I don't want them to keep delaying the announcement of what PSVR 2 is going to be. That's what I want to know. I just want to know already.
If it exists.
It does exist. There's so many patents, so much work going into it. We know it exists. We just have no idea what it is, because every patent that comes out is totally changing the game.
And we don't know how far out it is. Yeah, this is definitely the things to worry about that I think Jay touched on is that, like, in terms of like the PlayStation aim controllers and all those things working, is that the PlayStation 5 headset's going to come out and they'll be like, oh, just continue to use the PlayStation 4 aim controllers. Those work.
There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah. They gotta know. But I mean, we've seen some weird, dumb decisions from console developers before, so we will see. But this is super exciting, not just for, I mean, we are a very VR gaming news channel. We care about this because it means that, like, especially for people that are into VR, for some people, getting the PS5 plus the PlayStation VR is a lot of money for them. When PSVR came out, it was like $500. So if their socioeconomic situation hasn't changed, then by the time the PS5 comes out, they're still going to be like, okay, now I need to buy another expensive console and another expensive headset, and I need to buy these like expensive controllers. Well, hopefully your VR will work just fine with your old equipment if you need to save some money, which is cool. Some people need that. And unless you guys have anything else to add, we're ready for the game section.
Let's talk about games, but first.
Talking about games, but first, yes. This week's oh, that is a mistake. This is not the news segment, is it? This is the game. Let me type it out. Game section. This week game section is brought to you by Asterion. Does your VR wait? That's right. I don't read this part. I just kind of freeform it for the second part.
Brought to you by Asterion.
So we're super excited to tell you about the universal VR stand, the Aura. It's a super cool head stand, guys. Like, I just love talking about it because it's so darn cool. It's a compact, modern stand. It just like you practically just hang your headset on it. It's super fast and easy. It doesn't require clipping in or anything. Like some VR stands are really weird and finicky. It's like no one could figure it out. And these guys have. This is a super cool headset. Or not headset, stand. It's got RGB lighting. It's got a USB cord if you want to plug stuff in. Super cool stand. We cannot recommend this thing enough. If you are interested, we've got, let's see. I didn't scroll down enough and now I'm paying the price. So if you want to pick up your own Aura VR stand, go over to AsterianProducts.com and use the code FULLDIVE to get $5 off your order, $19.99 or more. We would recommend it. They got some great stuff.
The stand, I feel like the stand is honestly worth more than that, and that is actually one kind of struggle that's going on. They're selling out of these things all the time. They're having to get more stock as fast as they can because that is a great price for this stand, and that's why I have 2 of them. That's why Destiny has 2
Right?
of them. Everyone here now owns one. It's a good deal. It's a cool looking stand, and it fits right in with your gaming stuff. The RGB is awesome, and you can set it to one color if you want. If you just like blue, keep it blue. Have it light blue, either one. But I always have it
It even looks good without it.
Yeah, turn it off if you really want to. If you're going to bed, still look good at night while you're trying to sleep. You'll know it'll look good next to you.
Yeah, this is a
It's
really
the
good
nightlight for your
stand.
VR headset.
This product is so good that if someone came to me, it was like, all right, Rip, I know on the podcast you always say, get the Aura stand, but you guys are being paid to do that. What do you really recommend? I would say get the Aura stand. It is that good. It's a really sweet stand. All right, and now for the games. So
after all these weeks of talking and fighting,
yes,
somebody finally joined me. A couple of these guys finally joined me today in Rec Room. Now, I'm going to let them mostly talk, but before we do, I'm going to tell you, we didn't nearly touch on the plethora of what Rec Room is. We just did some of the quests together. So tell me your impressions, guys.
So, Adam, was this your first time playing Rec Room?
This was my first time ever in Rec Room.
Okay, I'd been in Rec Room before. Like I'd put in a decent amount of hours with our associate producer, but this was I don't know, like I'd never done the quest before, so that was very new to me. And I'd also never played with more than just one other person, so that was new. But Adam, this was your brand new experience. What did you think?
Brand new from, completely fresh experience. I really enjoyed Rec Room. And for a free game, it is free, isn't it?
Free on everything.
I think it is free. Yeah, it is free on everything. For a completely free platform, it is really, really good. And you have no reason not to try it out. Rip. But no, it honestly was a great experience.
I'm sorry, what do I need to? I was reading chat and I just suddenly heard my name.
I just don't understand why you had such an aversion for so long on playing Rec Room with us.
I don't remember being against it.
I think there was some aversion there, Jay.
You nuts. Okay, Rec Room is fun, and playing the quest thing, the quests that we did with Jay proved that okay, there's some really great stuff here. But I don't know. To me, Rec Room always felt a little bit of like, why play this mini game when I could go playing a proper game, if that makes any sense.
No, that does make sense.
But it's kind of I'm coming around. Continue, but I had to say that.
So I guess it's sort of like if you've ever played Gary's Mod or anything built with Gary's Mod, it is highly dependent on a lot of these. There's a couple of native things, but it is highly dependent on what types of mods, what types of experience you get from the fan-made community to get what you need, because some of them are really well made and really well polished, like the quest that we are playing today, and some of them I imagine are just hot garbage, right?
You go where they're upvoted the most, and you follow the likes a bit, but you find crazy stuff. I mean, there's quests like this, but then there's just random stuff. I went to a Pokemon world someone had made, and you're walking around the actual little Pokemon world, and then you end up in a Pokemon battle, and you have to like touch the buttons out on in front of you. And this is spoiler alert for my channel because I haven't dropped the video yet. I flew a helicopter that somebody built in Rec Room. I don't even know how the heck they did it with all these gadgets. I flew a helicopter. I flew a plane that they built. I drove a tank and got shot by another tank and exploded. There's everything possible. But the difference between this and VR chat and other things, Rec Room has it all built in where you can easily create with the Maker Pen. You can learn, anyone can learn it and build something. You're not doing programming, you're doing basic coding that you can figure out even if you don't know coding. You just have switches that have ons and offs, and you program what creates those ons and offs, and you can build the most advanced thing you want, or you can put a light switch in your room that turns the lights off. Like it's that much you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so unfortunately, I didn't have too much time to try it out, but it is definitely 100% a game that I would love to jump back into.
Yeah, we'll just go play some chill disc golf next time.
That's
Sounds
a
great.
lot more complex than I thought Rec Room was. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to try that out now.
And that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's the audience. People see it from the outside and it looks kind of cartoony, and they don't really know what's to it. And they think, oh, this is just some kids game, and they don't touch it. There is so many layers, but you've got to get in with friends. Don't just go in expecting to find a crew of people to play with. Go in with some friends. Get on our Discord. Get us to come play with you. Like, it's gonna be better if you're with the right crowd.
I have to, and that's sort of something I learned when I was playing it with you, Jay, because that was like my first impression was I was kind of, when I hopped in, I was playing. I mean, I had a friend with me, but in terms of like everyone else was super young. It was kind of loud, and I wasn't really about it. And then we played like a it wasn't laser tag so much as it was more like Nerf. We were playing like a Nerf capture the flag thing.
You're probably playing paintball.
Yeah, paintball. Yeah, and I mean, I was like kind of enjoying myself, but I wished I was just playing Contractors or Onward. And like that was what gave me my initial impression. But what's been shown to me is that especially if you go in with someone who like knows where to go, and really like go in with someone who's already perhaps experienced, and go in with some friends that you're going to enjoy the game with, because that was a lot of fun, and I would totally do that again.
We could go on about Rec Room all day. I'll wrap this up and move it forward. But definitely the thing about Rec Room that I would say separates it from like, well, why don't I just play Contractors? Why don't I play this? One, it's free. So anyone can get on it. You don't have to have, oh, do my friends have this game? And not just that, but you can do all this different stuff in the course of a few hours in one game. It's kind of like if you saw Ready Player One, it's kind of like the Oasis where they're hanging out and they're walking through this place, and then they go play on this planet and shoot people. Like, it's a very small version of that, but it all works really well too. It's not all janky. Like, you go, there's a version of Fortnite in it you can play with up to 18 people, and you can do it in squads, or you can do it in singles, and it's actually really fun. But you could go play that with your friends for half an hour, and you could get tired, and you could go hang out in a lounge or go to the park or go play some disc golf. It's all these games rolled into one experience, and you can also have a ton of people in some of them too. I have a paintball map someone made of my office where I record and do in my studio. They made that, and it can have, I think, 16 on 16 people playing paintball together. So it's you can just hang out with your friends and keep going and doing different things is what separates it from all the games you already have. So try Rec Room if you haven't. It's free. You have no reason not to. We're going to turn over. Jordan, we brought you here because we want to hear about all this awesomeness. You play a game competitively. It's called Core Defense. I know nothing about it besides what I've seen on Instagram. It looks like it's a shooter. If you guys want to go see him, Okayest VR Team on Instagram, you can see some clips of this. You can see them on their treadmills. What the heck is this game, though, Jordan?
So the game is called Core Defense, and it is a game that exists in the Omniverse arena. And what that is it's produced by a company called Virtuix, and they have these large stations. And again, you can see photos of all this. Or if you just Google Virtuix or Omniverse, OMNI verse, you can see all kinds of photos of this. And basically, there are these large stations with 4 omnidirectional treadmills inside and VR setups. And they're scattered all across the country, all across the world. I've competed against people in Korea. I've competed against people in Mexico, in Canada, all over the place. And so what it is Core Defense is one of these games where you are basically defending your area against wave after wave of oncoming robots, right? So the goal is to survive through all the waves, keep the core's health as high as possible, and score as many headshots as possible to get the highest possible score. And what happens is every single month, the contest pays out around $2,000 for first place, and it goes down from there for second, third, fourth, all the way through 10th place. So you've got very, very competitive scene with this, where you've got teams of 4 individuals getting together to try to compete. And the only thing with it is there is a cost to play up front. So it's not that you can go in over and over and over again. And these are located in gaming establishments. I don't want to give anybody free publicity, but you've all, any place that has arcade games and serves alcohol may have one of these in there. So yeah, it is an Omniverse exclusive as of right now. I at least haven't seen it anywhere else.
I did try to find it on Steam, and I typed in Core Defense. Don't go buy it, guys. There's a game called Core Defense. It is not this game. So I was trying to look it up because I wanted to see if I could play it.
No, in order to play this game, you really need to be in the VR Treadmill. And the way that kind of works is there are sensors on little shoes that you strap on over your shoes, and that monitors the speed at which you're moving your feet and the direction that you're turning, and that translates into your avatar in game. So
super cool.
We're going to touch harder on that in the opinion section about the VR treadmills itself. But is this, so one thing I didn't realize, I thought you fought other people. So this is always you as a co-op team of 4 people fighting basically the computer. You don't fight other people in this game.
Correct. In Core Defense, it's you versus the clock. It's you versus the AI. The company is working on stuff going forward that's going to be more competitive, which is what they're trying to bring it into the esports scene with VR esports, which really kind of like Pavlov and Onward, you need to be competing against other people, not just for the high score. But as of right now, it is just you versus the computer. Well, your team versus the computer.
It almost sounds like a tower defense game where you are the tower.
A little bit, yeah.
All right, cool.
This does sound super fun. So something I'm curious about, Jordan, how are they handling this with coronavirus? Do you know? Like, are people still able to play this? Are there like, well, what's happening? Do you know? Are you in touch with that?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't really have any particular. We're in contact with the company. We've talked to them a couple of different times, but their stance is very clinical in response. What I do know is that they rent these, the large boxes with everything you need for different gaming establishments to run this setup. And they rent these out to the gaming establishments. So it's really on the gaming establishment if they're going to allow people to play or not. And for the majority of the time that coronavirus through March up until a couple of weeks ago, it was shut down. There was no gaming. You couldn't go in and do any of this because it is, you are wearing the headset, you are touching the controllers, you're putting the sensors on the shoe straps and everything like that. So just with coronavirus and everything, everybody was being very, very cautious. With proper sanitation, it started to open back up a little bit, which has been really, really exciting. Not only because it's nice to be able to get back at it, but our competition has completely dropped off the map. So
if you want to win, compete now.
Yeah, there's a silver lining in everything. But yeah, it's been really interesting trying to adapt with coronavirus and everything going on. So
I bet. Is there a convenient way for people to find out if they can? It's Omniverse. Is that what they're looking for?
Yes. So if you go to Virtuex's website, which is, and I'm betting we could probably put something maybe in the show notes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be there. Show notes and YouTube description.
Yeah, it's I believe I'll double check, but it's virtuex.omniverse.com, and you can go there and you can actually look and see where these stations are set up, and it's real easy to get in and get addicted to it, because going in and putting on a VR headset is awesome, but once you actually strap in and you take a step forward in virtual reality and your character moves in game, it's a whole nother sensation.
I bet.
And that's something that we can talk about a little bit more in depth in our discussion section.
Right. Yeah, that'll be super cool. I'm excited to talk about it. But in terms of the game, Um, so is this? Would you say if people are hopping on into Omniverse, they're going to go try this out? Would you say Core Defense is the game to play on Omniverse? Like, what would you recommend for people hopping into uh, the Omniverse? I love that name, by the way.
Yeah. So
It's very
there's a
appropriate.
couple of different games. Yeah, there's a couple of different games that are offered right now. One is Core Defense, which is a robot shooter where you're like you said, it's a tower defense. You're defending your point. Another
Mhm.
one is VRZ, which is a zombie shooter. You're not defending anything. It's mostly run around, survive as long as you can, go for the high score type of situation, survive the night. They
Mhm.
have one called Strike Force, which is incredibly popular, which is your Call of Duty esque run around, pick up weapons off the ground, shoot the other team. It's 2-on-2, so you're not
Mm.
playing against anybody across the nation in that one or across the world. You're playing against the people across from you inside the room. So that's a lot of fun. And I know that they're if you go to their website, they've got a plethora of games that they're developing right now and that they're about to release. One of which is a pirate treasure hunt, where you basically it's almost a little bit like a platformer, where you kind of jump and move from location to location and try to locate the treasure. So
Wow.
there's a lot of stuff they're coming out with that are a lot of fun. What I would say is if somebody's going and they're looking to see, is this the best game or is that the best game? It really depends on what you wanna play. If you want to go in and you just want to run around and shoot stuff and everything, go play Strike Force. Go lob grenades over buildings and everything like that. Blow your buddies up, you know. But if you want to go in and you want to, I've seen people go in and play the zombies VRZ and just scream their heads off because they turn around and there's a horde just coming straight at them. And in virtual reality, that can be, especially for somebody who's not tried it, a little intimidating. And what do you
Right.
do? Yeah, you go to run immediately. So
Yep. But you can actually do that because you're on a VR
exactly,
treadmill.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty
exactly.
cool.
People forget that for some reason though. They just panic. Their hands go up. So
They
I
freeze.
mean, even in real life, some
Yeah, much
people,
like real life.
yeah,
yeah,
fight
exactly.
or flight or
Or panic.
paralyze or panic. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we had VRZ on the list too, so you kind of already mentioned a bit. Maybe we can just finish that one up real fast. That one is not an Omni exclusive, right? I can actually play that without an Omni. Do you know?
So that's correct. I know that VRZ was available. It's made by a company out of an area in Africa. I'm not exactly sure, but there's a development team down there that made the game, and Omni currently has a license for it. So it was available on Steam at one point. Jay, you do your homework, so I'm not sure if you went and took a look, if you saw it, if it's still on there or not.
I got a demo downloaded, but I was going to try and play
Okay.
it before this, and we played Rec Room. So I think you can play. It does look like you could still buy it there, but again, I didn't want to find out it was the wrong game like Core Defense was when I tried to find that.
No, no. The VRZ or VR Zombies that's on Steam, if it's still on there, it's got a black and red logo. If it is still available, is the same game, with a couple of exceptions. Obviously, the arcade version is very streamlined and tailored. It puts you straight into the match instead of all your options, menus, and everything like that. So there is more to do in the version that you can purchase online, but it is effectively it's the same game. So.
Hmm. That sounds really cool. So, how do you think these games in the Omniverse compare to, b- I guess, most of the other VR? Like, are these games? Is it just because of the treadmill, or do you think some of these games are truly comparative to a lot of the other VR games you see on the public market, for lack of better words?
Yeah. As far as comparative, do you mean more like graphics or in terms of gameplay? Because a lot of these games, they're not story based. It's round
Mm.
based.
Well,
So
let's
it's
say
it's not
something
going to
compared to Pavlov then, right? So how would you compare, say, the Strike Force, which is just an Omni thing, you get the VR treadmills. How would that compare to something like Pavlov?
So I'd say it's comparable. I actually, again, and I'm a bad VR player here. I haven't played Pavlov yet, but I've seen enough videos of it. I know. I've seen enough videos of it that I would say it's it actually in my opinion, and again, I haven't jumped into Pavlov in VR, but it looks a little bit better graphically from it. It's a little more detailed. You have higher rendered textures and mesh on a lot of the buildings and things like that. As far as particle effects and everything, that's not really something that it gets into terribly much. But as far as compared to like Pavlov or other, run and gun shooters in VR, I'd say it's definitely comparable. I've played it. It's a ton of fun. You put me on the spot. I'm gonna have to go play Pavlov now so I can I can back myself up there.
Yeah, I'm excited. Man, if I knew it, if we'd planned this ahead of time, we maybe could have gotten a good round of contractors in, because Adam just recently played that, and I want to hear his opinions at some point. But we are
let's
hoping
save
to
that for next week. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also want to wait till we get Destiny back on the podcast, because if we can get her to play contractors and see how the two onward people what they thought about contractors, that'd be cool. All right.
Well, you guys played a game this week. You asked me if I was going to get in. I took a look at the trailer. I was like, this is not my game. Tell us about Battle Group? Was that what it was called?
Battle Group VR, otherwise known as the best VR game. So I don't know how
not sponsored.
Say again?
I said not sponsored.
Not sponsored. This is true. Yeah, not sponsored. I don't know what Adam's impressions are yet, but I will just say right off the bat, guys, go get this game. This is like a one-man team VR developer, and he's created like literally the VR game of my dreams here. Like, I've been playing it with my brother like every free moment we can get since I picked it up, I don't know, 4 days ago. And it's so good. It's so fun. So Battle Group VR, it's a how to describe it. You are on a ship, like a big old spaceship, and you're on the bridge. Like, think like Star Trek or Star Wars, where you've got like some people next to you. You're in the command. Well, you're not sitting. You can sit if you want, but you can sit or stand. There's no seat in VR though. Visually. So you're in this command center, and you're looking out over your spaceship, and you have this really amazing, for lack of better words, I don't know,
it's like VR, a holographic kind of
holographic. Like, if you ever like whenever you see sci-fi movies and they like do it, and like they have this 3D holographic thing, and they're moving their people around, and like it's straight out of like a Marvel movie or whatever. This game, like, it's a thing now. That's what it is in this game. You've got that 3D interactive thing where you're moving your people around, you're directing other combat ships. You're not piloting your own ship in this game. You can, but the big point is that you're commanding a fleet. So you've got a 3D representation of your fleet, of the enemy fleets, and you're moving your ships around, you're using abilities, and you're fighting. But the entire time you're sitting in the actual flagship, so you can look out the window and see your ship, your cruiser, your frigate, your whatever. There's a ton of options here, and it's just like broadsiding another ship, and it's just like, it's so fun. I'll let Adam pick up there, because otherwise I'm never gonna shut up.
No, it is truly an incredible game, but I actually have a little bit of a personal vendetta against it.
Oh?
Because let's say that me and the person that I was working with were making games. We had almost an identical game idea to Battle Group VR. And we actually had gone through the full design documentation and started to prototype it. And then this first Battle Group VR trailer came out, and we just kind of threw our hands up in the air and said, well, we probably can't do it better than that. So, but no, it is truly one of the most unique VR games that I've played so far. It is a hard game, though. Playing through the campaign, it is a challenging game. It is really punishing. It doesn't hold your hand. It just tries to chop it off right out of the gate. But it is one of the coolest feelings to order your flagship to turn around and start broadsiding this guy that's off your left flank, and to see your ship move in VR, or just like on the outside viewports that you have to space, and line up your shots, and just seeing your cannons start going to town on them. It's one of the coolest experiences I've had in VR to date. It is truly incredible. I can't recommend it enough. I used to play a lot of StarCraft back in the day. I love this RTS type of game modes, and it hits all the right buttons for me. I've been waiting for an RTS in VR, and just having that extra third dimension, you can fly over and under the enemy ships at the same time, skirt around asteroids to try and block their fire, turn your ship so that it's hitting the side of your ship that still has shields. Oh, so good. It is so good. Can't recommend it enough.
It is
Really
super
hard.
complex. Yeah, really hard, super complex. You've got Adam was just touching on probably the biggest part of this game that I wasn't expecting is shield management. Shield management is like everything.
Yes.
The game gets harder with every ship you have, because that's another ship you got to be managing those shields on, because you got to like, do you put your power into the shields? Do you put it into weapons? Do you put it into what are the other things? Shields, weapons, engines. And then you've got shields on the front, sides, and back. You're constantly turning your ships around. If you want to retreat, you can, but it means that the enemy is going to be pummeling your back shields, and then the back shields are going to go down, and now you're taking hull damage. So do you keep retreating, or do you like angle slightly so they're hitting your side shields? Like, so it's got this huge, like, I love a game that like I play, especially in VR, where games can be extremely simple and not that complicated or hard. This game, I'm not like someone who needs every game to be Dark Souls, but I like a challenge, and this game is challenging, and it's got complexity. It's not just a simple point and click your ship and it'll move there and just kind of let them battle it out and see what happens. You're constantly on edge, and that's so fun, at least for me.
Oh, no, totally. Just to give one example of the depth that this can go into, in the campaign, you have a limited amount of money, you have a limited amount of upgrade points. And so I'm working with my flagship, and I realized that I didn't really have the money to do all the upgrades I needed. So I only upgraded the left side of my ship.
Yeah.
And so the left side of my ship was the most terrifying thing you've ever seen, and the right side of my ship was just totally lame. And so I had like my Nemo of a flagship, where I was only trying to aim with one side of my ship flying around them to try and get the most direct hits, and then turn around to soak shots while my shield recharged, and then turn back around. There's a lot of depth to this game. There's a lot of complexity. I was loving every second of it.
And so I don't know about you, but I haven't touched skirmish yet. I'm just playing through the campaign, and I'm still unlocking ships. There's like, I think I'm at like 12 different ships that you can unlock, and these ships play super differently. You've got striker corvettes, you got fighter frigates, you got like 4 different types of cruisers, you've got a command ship. There's a ton of great stuff. Like, how has this one guy made this game? I do not know. It's incredible.
Jordan, does this appeal to you as a
I'm
flight
actually
person?
I was gonna say I actually have this in my Steam shopping cart right now, and I'm so glad to hear you guys give it such high praise. I don't know how long ago it came out, but I only discovered it a couple of days ago. And when you were talking about it, you mentioned the title, Rip, and I went, I think that's that one I was looking at. And I was sitting here the entire podcast going, I wonder what they're going to say about it, So that's super exciting. Yeah, it's something like that. I love, I loved Command and Conquer back in the day, the ability to kind of manage resources, manage units, everything like that. So the idea that I can sit in VR on the flagship and issue commands on it, it's kind of like a holographic table, isn't it? That you're kind of interacting with your ships and everything. Okay. So yeah, the idea that I can sit there and see the entire battlefield and kind of manage that is really exciting. And I know what I'm doing as soon as we get done here now. So
oh man, it's so good. It's so good. You'll love it. If you liked Star Wars or Star Trek or Command and Conquer, or just like, even if you're not into RTSs, I bet you'll get a kick out of this, because it's just, oh man, it's like every nerd's wet dream.
Now that was my question, and you just started to touch on it. Besides Age of Empires 2, which I think I played on Windows 98 or something, I'm not into RTSs. Like, all the things you guys have been praising here, you pretty much lost me, except for being able to like see the big ships around you and the scale and stuff. Am I going to find any appeal to this game if I am not into RTSs, or is this really just for the RTS crowd?
Personally, I think you'll find it more frustrating than wowing. Like, there is nothing cooler than standing on the bridge of your command ship looking out, but it is a punishing game. And unless you are enjoying the challenge of that deep strategy, I'm not sure that you're going to be enjoying it quite as much, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe Rip will have a different opinion.
Yeah, I like. I don't know. There's there are definitely, like, for example, we've always mentioned that flight sims and like car games. I was never really into those until I got a VR headset. Right? You might get a little bit of that with this game because what's cooler than moving your ship and moving this stuff on the radar and then looking to your right and seeing your ship and then your friendly ship above you, and they're both just like launching heavy cannons at this other ship that's coming right at you, right? Like, that sounds cool, right, Jay? Right?
Yes, 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 but
So I guess your mileage may vary. It is a hard game. Again, I haven't touched skirmish, but I haven't seen any way to, like, I don't know, turn down the enemy difficulty. Because the thing is, in terms of enemy difficulty, like when the ship is firing at you and you're fighting back, these ships aren't like any enemy ship is capable of killing you, right? And it's not like a VR shooter where you can have them like not shoot much or like do weird dumb things to bring down the difficulty. It's either shooting at you or it's not. Um and it's in space. It doesn't have it, like, it's not like it has a blocked line of sight to you. So if you're outnumbered, then it'd be like, in real life, like trying to without a lot of experience trying to fight against 2 or 3 people by yourself. You're at a disadvantage. And it takes skill to get over that disadvantage. Um I'm sure if you went to skirmish mode, Jay, and you just gave your fleet all 5 ships and were able to give the enemy ship like 2 fleet or enemy fleet 2 ships, and you could just watch them get destroyed, maybe maybe that'll be more up your alley.
see, I want to
Um,
be this. When you talk about Star Wars, this sounds like you're not Luke in an X-wing. You're not Han Solo in Millennium Falcon. This sounds like you're Princess Leia in the deck, telling where all these ships are going to go and doing that stuff. That's the side that doesn't appeal to me as much. That's why I want to play like Squadrons. I want to be in the plane
mm,
fighting in the dogfight, where being in command of that doesn't appeal to me as much. But it sounds like for you guys who are into that, this is like the perfect game. So I'm impressed by that. I'm intrigued, but it still sounds like it's not something personally I would love.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
It's perhaps it's more akin to less Princess Leia and more that one alien who says it's a trap. I forget his name.
Admiral Akbar.
Admiral Akbar.
Yeah, Akbar, Admiral Akbar. Yeah, you have his job.
Okay.
Or what's that one anime that is super long and is galactic something?
You
I don't
lost
know.
me to anime. Sorry.
It's a classic. Like I don't when I say anime, it's not like a modern. It'd be like Cowboy Bebop. Like if you're old enough, you might just have heard of it. Um,
Oof.
So, man, as much as I want to just keep glowing on about this game, I do have to wrap up the game section. But I will say again, guys, this is like a super small dev team. If this sounds remotely interesting to you, pick up this game.
How
Try
much
it.
is it?
How much is it?
Like
It was in your
25, maybe?
cart, Jordan.
I think it was about
I
25.
think I was thinking 25. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, I'm at. Oh, that's right. When you own the game and you go
You
to the
can't look,
the
yeah.
page, it's all like, you already own this game. Like,
Well, that's not a terrible gamble. 25, it's a little pricier for an independent game, but it's still not a terrible gamble to take. So if you like RTS, it sounds like you're going to be into this no matter
If you like RTS or just, have a really want to be Admiral Akbar, worth every penny.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And with that, we don't have a lot of time, but we do want to touch for our discussion section on VR treadmills specifically, not just Omniverse, but what is the experience like to have a VR treadmill? How much better is it to be able to just run and just keep running and you won't hit a wall because you're wearing a Quest? You can just keep running. And does it track your feet typically? Like if you look down and move your foot, does it move with you? Is that typically the case?
Yeah, so the way that it works specifically in because there's a couple of different companies that are doing VR treadmills right now. So
Right.
the one with VirtuX is there are actually little we refer to them as pucks. They're little trackers that clip onto either the shoes that you wear over your shoes, kind of a strap on with Velcro and buckles and everything, or you can actually put on, a shoe size to your foot. But the trackers clip on, and then using the lighthouses for the HTC Vive, what it does is it tracks those in addition to tracking the headset and the controllers. So when you step forward, right, it simulates you moving forward. And so the faster those two pucks pass each other, the faster you move in game. And the way that it's set up is you're strapped in at the waist and you've basically got a ring going around you, okay? So you're strapped in, and when you lean forward, it senses that you're leaning forward, and that combined with the running propels your character, your avatar in game forward. So
Hmm. And how seamless is this? Is it like are you playing the whole time and going, I don't know if the technology's really here yet, but this is a lot of fun, or is it like this is the the best thing since uh I don't know, I couldn't think of anything cool to say.
Best thing since
so
VR.
Yeah.
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 So it's when it works with any kind of technology and with anybody who's used, the HTC or anything else that's got, mounted tracking, that sometimes it loses connection. And that can happen. It doesn't happen a lot, though, is what I'll say. Um, More often than not, if I'm going to lose tracking, it's going to be on a controller, not on one of these foot pucks. So it works really, really well.
Mhm.
I
It's,
hear a big
obviously,
butt coming.
well, there's obviously a speed cap to keep it fair for everybody playing. So, and you can
Mm.
kind of trick the system, and you can shuffle your feet to simulate the pucks moving past each other faster and things like that. But
Oh, I hadn't
in
thought of that.
terms of in terms of what, and see, I'm giving away all our secrets now. So, uh, go to our YouTube channel; it's all on there.
I picture I picture you and your group of guys playing competitively and you're just doing little shuffles.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it looks like. That is
Oh, that's
100% what it
great.
looks like. So yeah, it in terms of what it adds to the experience, it's beyond compare. It completely changes the competitive experience because instead of pressing a button on the controller or teleporting to jump, or Jay and I were speaking earlier about V rocker, and you have to kind of get in your horse stance and bounce up and down or lean left and right, shuffle your shoulders to move. Um, you just go. You lean forward and you run, and your character runs, and you're running and shooting at the same time. It's amazing.
You see,
It's
that's so
it's
surprising for me because they're kind of goofy looking, in my opinion. You
they
strapping
are
yourself
goofy
into
looking.
this halo, into this giant, hula hoop around you. Does it restrict your movement? Do you find that you can't maybe move as easily as you could in a traditional VR setup?
So, I mean, obviously, it's going to restrict your movement a little compared to running naturally, right? But in terms of a traditional VR setup, if I had the option to play competitively against a bunch of people that were, playing with and without, kind of dispersed between the group, 12 on 12, I would 100% use an Infinity treadmill to compete, because it's one less thing that my brain has to translate into a different motion. I don't have to think about where is my thumb on the controller, where am I moving. I don't have to do that calculation on how is this movement going to translate into the game. It's I turn my hips and I start running that direction and I go that direction. It's one more natural thing getting you closer to immersion within VR.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, a couple questions here. I've followed a lot of treadmills from the start, so I'm really interested in the technology. A lot of them are all called Infinity treadmills, but there's nothing actually treadmill about the Omni. You're standing in a smooth bowl with frictionless shoes, and just the shoes are being tracked. There's nothing. The bowl's not tracking the movement or anything. It's just those trackers on the shoes, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Infinity treadmill is just the term that's kind of been used industry wide right now to define what these are, but it's generally a semi-curved basin, and you wear some type of foot gear that's got a very slick base, on the bottom of it. And it's not, a lot of people may be picturing Ready Player One right now, where he jumps on and he starts running and then he turns left and runs and it turns with him. No, that's not what's happening. It's a very polished, very smooth basin. And yeah, it has to be semi-curved, because otherwise you'd put your feet down and you'd immediately slip and you'd fall forward. So the semi-curved nature of it kind of keeps you upright when you're running. And Adam, what you were saying earlier in terms of, does it kind of restrict you? It's like being hugged right around the abdomen. The ring, yeah, the ring that's not super descriptive, but the ring that's around the outside and what's actually being strapped to you never touch except for 2 contact points on the side. So you have freedom of movement in every direction, left, right, forward, backward, up, down, to an extent within about 6, 7, 8 inches before you kind of hit that moment where it says, okay, I'm now tracking. You're going to move forward. You're going to move back. You're kind of shifting to the right. So you've got a little bit of a play in it as it goes. So yeah, you don't feel like you're locked in one spot and you're kind of running and you're being held stationary. You still lean forward to run like you would in real life. So it feels very, very natural. They did a really great job with it.
Okay, and this is the biggest question I have with any of these Infinity treadmills. Can you crouch in them?
So in the one that I use, you can't. It doesn't at least translate into in-game. I know that there are Infinity treadmills that are out there that are being produced right now. I don't know if any are, commercially available for purchase, but there are ones out there that take a different approach. Instead of placing a ring around you, what they do is they have you wear a vest that's attached to a cable and it attaches above your head, and that will help simulate, crouching and everything like that. So there are ones out there that are coming out or that have come out that allow you to do that and translate that kind of motion into game, jumping, crouching, everything like that.
Okay.
None of them
So
are. Yeah, none of them are quite out yet. The Catwalk C we covered on the podcast is funded through Kickstarter, and it's one of the first ones that's going to have that option. The one he talked about from Ready Player One is called the Infinidek. If you want to Google it, it is real. It's not in production, but it is a real design and prototype. It's really interesting. I want to try one of these. I want to come to Texas the minute COVID is over and try one of these because I've never gotten the chance. I want to try every single kind that's out there, but I know that they're not available everywhere. If you had the chance, would you go try another one, or are you like an Omni addict now? Are you kind of stuck to this brand?
No, I'm sold to the concept of it. I think that VirtuX and the Omniverse have done a really great job with it. You mentioned Kickstarter earlier. VirtuX actually started and funded the Omniverse treadmill on Kickstarter. And they just released about a month ago a YouTube ad. They're coming out with what they're calling the VirtuX Odyssey, or the Omniverse Odyssey, and that will be this platform available for home purchase. And the way that they're marketing it is as a exercise fitness device. So imagine being able to go play Skyrim in VR and run around, Tamriel. Imagine being able to go play Fallout 4 and run around, everything like that. You're going to get a ton more exercise playing those games. And it's being able to do that. It's kind of like going back and playing a game that you've played in VR, like Superhot, and then trying to play it in 2D again. You're like, I'll just play. I'll go play something else until I can get it working again. So,
Right.
I know we need to wrap this up, but one thing, maybe for the people who haven't watched us on YouTube, come watch us on YouTube. We've started live streaming some of the podcasts. Maybe we can stay on and get some questions from the stream. I think that'd be really cool. I just had one other random question. How do you guys get the cable kink up above you? Because you're turning like crazy to play the game. Do you guys use an app to like manage that, or does the cable kink up?
So the cable is suspended up above you. I've never had an issue with it kinking up, with it wrapping around itself. Whatever they're using to kind of suspend the cable up there, and haven't really particularly looked straight up to see how it's suspended up there. But no, I've never run into an issue with it kinking up. So whatever they're doing is working really, really well. Yeah. So.
Okay, one last thing before we go. If someone wants to buy an Omni treadmill or similar for themselves for home purpose, these things are like typically $1,000. So we're gonna go with that. Is that worth it? Do you think $1,000 is worth owning your own VR treadmill?
I think that heavily depends on what games are available for it. I think if it's exclusive to whatever company and they're coming out with their own products, $1,000 is, I would not invest for it at $1,000. I would wait until something becomes more available. Now, I can tell you that if somebody releases a VR treadmill and it gets phenomenal reviews and you can play Skyrim and you can go play all these games, they say your entire VR Steam library good to go, I'm going to go buy one tomorrow. I will find the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is good to know, because I'll admit I've heard otherwise by some people who've bought one, but I guess the difference it would be that you can play all of your games. It's for the most part fairly seamless, and kind of like how the controls for like right now, like a lot of games have like you can sort of map each of the controllers fairly similarly as the design for VR controllers gets a little bit more standardized. I think once VR treadmills kind of get there to where games kind of expect that people will be like a decent player base will be using treadmills, then we'll be seeing some really cool stuff and probably some more purchases. Maybe the price will go down. Who knows?
One can only hope.
One can only hope. Natalie also wanted to know, has Nexiana ever tried other VR treadmills?
So no, I have not had the opportunity to try any other VR treadmills. I would love to. There's a company out in California called Sandbox VR, and they have a open platform, kind of open arena VR setup going on. And I believe that they have some VR treadmills out there as well. And if I ever get the opportunity, I'd love to go out there and work with them. But no, as of right now, I haven't had a chance to try anybody else. But I'm not a fanboy by any stretch as far as VirtuX goes. But they have done a very, very good job with their product design. So
Cool.
Jordan,
All right.
Just before the final, if people are interested in this, if they want to find you, we said you're on Instagram. Where
Yes.
else? What are your platforms? What do you do? Where can people find out stuff about you or come talk to you if they want to find you?
So I'm I'm a little bit older than a lot of people. I recently made the jump to Instagram, so I'm a little behind the times. But you can find me on Instagram at commander_Nexion. That's CMDR_NEXION, and then you can find our team at OVERCAST VR team on Instagram as well.
Nice. We'll make
All
sure
right,
those are linked.
Oh, wait a second. I could have sworn I'm trying to find the outro I did for the previous podcast. Oh, okay, there it is. Cool. All right. So, Jordan, where can these people find you? Show notes. You can find them in. Sorry. This is. I realize now that sounds like I'm asking you. I'm trying to coordinate my own thoughts here. So if you want to find him, check out the show notes. Check out the YouTube descriptions. This guy is in Discord. If you want to ask him some questions there, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to answer them there. Really cool stuff that these guys are doing. Go check them out. A little bit about ourselves before we go, because we have our own things. We have the Discord server. If you are interested in participating in the Q&A, if you want to ask us questions during the live stream that we can touch on, I'm scanning the chat the entire time until we get enough followers that I can't. I kind of enjoy the like middle level of popularity where you can still keep up with the chat. Like, obviously I want more people, but I'm gonna enjoy this while I still can. So come check us out on Discord. If you want some neat Discord roles, early access to stereo versions of the podcast. Trust me, the intro and outro songs sound fantastic in stereo. If you want some really cool stuff, go join our Patreon for $5 a month. And again, if you are listening, consider watching the YouTube channel. If you're on the YouTube channel and you're like, this was cool, but maybe I just want to listen to it on the car drive next time, we are literally everywhere. We're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on iTunes, we are on every podcast platform. I've worked really hard to make it that way. Go check us out. And that is all. Thank you for watching, guys, and we will see you on the next podcast.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. See you next week.